Well, greetings, my dispatch of YouTube followers. So today, back from a long break, couple things, the holidays, catching COVID, waiting for parts, and so we're not quite done with the Barney Oliver saga yet. Um, Over here is the Davin stepped attenuator that I finally managed to get apart. And I've ordered some new resistors for that. This thing is a comedy of errors, and we'll get into that in the next video. But meanwhile, to keep things rolling along, I thought we'd take a crack here at my buddy Joe's Marantz Model 510. This thing is a brute. It is an absolute brute. It's in very, very good condition. No scratches or dings or donks on it. It's got a little foam disease. Well, actually, I can't show you that anymore. I already vacuumed it all out. But there was a foam, open cell foam filter pad on the underside of this top. And of course, it just disintegrated and fell all into the amp. But anyway, this is going to be a fairly quick one because there's knock on reconstituted wood. This thing is working. There's not a lot wrong with it, other than the capacitors being original and the cooling fan having shot bearings. So that's what it's mainly in here for, is just a recap and a new fan and anything else we find along the way. So let's take a quick pause here and get the top open and take a look at what this thing looks like inside. And here we are. Wow. Definitely some dust bunnies in there. It was a lot worse. I mean, this is after just a once over from a shop vac. No real effort to brush the dirt loose, just to get the loose stuff out of the way. But the inside is pretty dirty. As I was explaining before, the lid, you can see kind of the remnants of the foam that used to be on this lid, and all that foam just crumbled away and fell into the amp. So that's going to be definitely a toothbrush and air compressor job outside. This thing is, I don't know if it can be captured on camera just how massive this power transformer is. Let's see, do I have a, here is a standard size Sharpie. So that gives you an idea of the size of this thing. It is like a Sharpie and an inch wide by like a Sharpie deep by like almost a Sharpie tall. So that thing is huge. This amplifier, no joke, it's got to weigh like 60 pounds. It is very tough to pick up, not because it's necessarily so heavy, but because it's very, very dense. And most of the weight's on this side, and so you pick it up and it is just really, really awkward to carry. So what do we have in here? This is an American made Marantz, and man, it shows, it's just the beefiness of everything. And and look at that. You got some old school circuit or terminal strips in there rather. And yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw a terminal strip inside a solid state amp. That's pretty cool. So obviously right there off the bat, that looks like an Illinois capacitor. I'm not sure what that is, but that is going to go. We're going to recap this whole thing. This fan is rattly. Let's take a look here. That is a genuine muffin fan. For those of you who wondered why these were called muffin fans, it's because once upon a time there was actually a brand called Muffin. I think they're still around, but it's one of those brands that's been sold to 10 different companies, I think, by now. And yeah, we got some more little axial capacitors in there. Those are all going to be shot by now, or at least out of spec. This thing does power up, and it doesn't seem to draw much current at idle. Doesn't seem to be putting out any DC. So, you know, all things being equal, it seems like it's in working condition. We just need to do some preventative maintenance and recap this thing before something bad happens. So let's, you know, we got to make a parts list, and I have the schematic. And the schematic will tell me all the capacitor values, but what it's not going to do is it's not going to tell me what my maximum height. Well, height's not going to really be an issue, but the lead spacing is more of an issue on these radial lead capacitors than it is on the axial leads. So we'll need to make sure we get the circuit board off and actually measure the lead spaces on all of those radial capacitors and make sure that the ones we ordered will actually fit. And of course, one of the things you always do when you take in a new patient is you check the fuse. This one, 15 amp fuse. Now normally if you see a 15 amp fuse in an amplifier, you're looking at an idiot owner. But in this case, a 15 amp fuse is actually correct for this amplifier. That's how much power this thing has. It's like 325 watts a channel or something like that. This fuse holder will probably have to be replaced. As you can see, I can turn it all the way through and it comes, yeah, it's something happened and it's blown past its little stop notch, and now it's kind of stripped a little, and it kind of feels a little wiggly and not great. Like it could either pop out or maybe you could make a loose connection and arc a little bit. I don't know. I don't like it. That's going to go. The power cord seems to be okay. It's one of these weird flat power cords like you used to see on old air conditioners. I'll look into that. That power cord is probably just fine though. So yeah, let's get the power module out of this thing and start taking a look at the board layout and the caps. Well, we're most of the way through getting it out. It's mostly loose. I got to take this side off, but I wanted to pause and show you something here. So these bolts here in the front need to come off. And what you really do not want to do is scratch the faceplate taking them off. So let me show you a trick. You take a piece of blue tape, like this, and you cover your nut driver with the blue tape, like so. Okay. Now I'm trying to balance my hands, and I'll probably put the phone down to actually do the work, but now when I go to take this off, I'll just kind of stab it through the tape like that. And now when I go to take this off, I'm going to have to put the handle on this bit. But anyway, that bit of blue tape there wrapped around the metal, if it'll ever focus, that bit of blue tape there wrapped around like that will prevent, as long as you're careful and don't push in too hard, this will prevent scratching on the faceplate. So I'm going to put the phone down and get this the rest of the way apart, and we'll pick it up from there. And there we have it. We've gotten the side off, and as you can see, no scratching on the faceplate, and also no scratching on the face of the bolts, and no marring of the corners either. So instead of just throwing, these are nice and kind of the nice finish on it. So, and they're aluminum. So we're going to put those in a separate little bag and not let them dance around in the bag with all the steel screws. Okay. Now let's get back to business. Oh man, I need both my hands to lay this thing flat. Ooh-wee. Yeah, now you can really start to see where all that crumbled up foam went over the years as it disintegrated and fell into the amplifier. So what do we have here? We've got, yeah, this looks like it's, if this thing would focus, this looks like it's in good shape, and it looks fairly straightforward to service. And it would seem that the main power transistor board is kind of daughter boarded underneath behind here on the second board back here, and plugs in with these headers. So really we should only have to unplug a few things And we also got to get this out so we can get this muffin fan out of here. So yeah, let's finish the extraction here and then take a close look at it on the bench. And you know, actually, before I do that, just for my own personal point of interest, I'm going to make sure that I have good footage of where everything came from, because it does not appear as though the colors of these are marked on the board. And oh wait, those are those different diameter terminal sizes? I can't tell. It's either packed with dust or they're a different diameter. So maybe it will only go on one way and I'm being paranoid. But either way, it never hurts to be sure that you have good close-up photography of all the connections you're about to unplug. All right. Well, that was pretty easy. It's almost as if they designed this thing to be serviced. You take out all the screws around the outside holding the board on, a couple of which have spade lug terminals, and obviously very important to remember which ones it is. And boy, are those oxidized. I bet a lot of improvement can be made by cleaning that up. Yeah, so this is pretty cool. So this board right here has got all the output transistors on it. And that's, bolted up into the heatsink and so on and so forth, and is probably a bit of a pain in the butt to remove, and requires, reapplying thermal compound and all that messy shit. So it's very nice that they allow me to unplug the driver part of it, so it just through those stab through connectors, it just plugs on. So after you unplug everything, the whole board pulls off. It's very convenient. So I will prop this board up here and take a nice look at it here. So if anybody's curious about the layout of this board. So what do we see right off the bat? We've got some electrolytics that need to be replaced. Now, that's the main reason I took this board off before even ordering parts, is because I need to look at the underside of the board here and measure the terminal lead spacing on these so that the new parts will actually fit. So we've got 2, 4, what else? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. It looks like 10 electrolytics per board, and plus whatever is on the peak detection board. I think there's 2 or 3 electrolytics on that peak detection board. Plus we know about this electrolytic right back here that I think is in the warm-up circuit or the soft start circuit. I'm not sure exactly. I'll have to look at the schematic and see what exactly that cap does, but I'm guessing it provides some sort of something for that relay or something. And then, we got these 2 big boys right here. These might be fine. These big ones tend to last a long time, but we'll test them. I've got 2 working capacitor testers now, actually 3, but I have 2 ones that will do, leakage tests at the rated 100-volt rated voltage. These are 10,000 mics at 100 volts each. Yeah. And luckily we're not, because they used I used 1 bus bar here, but they didn't use a circuit board or anything like that. So the screw terminal spacing for these won't be as critical on the replacement, which is nice. Unlike the Barney Oliver amplifier over there, which you will need the exact right dimensions for the capacitor, diameter, height, and terminal spacing, or it won't work. Yeah, we gotta get this muffin fan out and replace that, but I won't bore you with that. That's not terribly exciting. So yeah, that is the preliminary tear into this Marantz. That's going to be it for this video. I'm going to now take inventory of all the parts I need to order and present my friend Joe with an estimate.